evening, everybody. How you doing? I live in Houston, Florida. I've done so for 16 years now. My office is, my law office is in Executive Park on Langford. A mile and a half from here, depending on which way you go, I guess. It's a real treat to be here tonight and to help you guys and to help the candidates get their views out to the public. Thank you, Chuck, and to the PDC for putting this on. I think this is a great thing. We've done it in Houston, Florida for a long time. Chuck and the PDC have done it for a long time. I think it's great. As Chuck told you, the questions have been submitted to me via email over the last couple of weeks. He's got some 3x5 cards that if anybody wants them, just raise your hand and he'll keep an eye out and eventually bring them up to me. I can only tell you that the questions have not been censored by either the PDC or myself. The questions are what they come in. I don't ad-lib them. That's what they are. As Chuck indicated, in all likelihood, we are going to run out of time. We're stopping at 8 o'clock so everybody can get home. But of course, when we end up, if y'all have something that wasn't addressed, just ask them. I mean, they're going to be sticking around for a few minutes afterwards, so just ask them. The format for tonight, each of the candidates will give an opening statement of up to 4 minutes. We did a coin flip a few minutes ago. Ms. Gibson will go first. After the opening statements, we're going to go through the question rounds. With respect to the question rounds, candidates, a question will be posed to each candidate in a rotating format. So Ms. Gibson went first for openings, Matt will get the first question, I'm going to rotate from there. The questions will be to the candidate. For example, candidate Myers, you'll get 2 minutes to respond to the question, and then Ms. Gibson will have a minute to rebut that response. And then vice versa as we switch. I'm going to screw it up. It's not a question of if, but when. So just remind me gently
No worries.
that I've botched that up. I'm sure that will happen. You will get warnings at 30 seconds and at 10 seconds. And when the time is out, he'll just kind of wave his flag. Bob's that cool. Wave it and just be respectful of time. Everybody wants to get their voice out. I understand that, but at the same time, we also have a lot of topics to discuss tonight. And if you guys go on and on, we're simply not going to be able to get to as many questions as we can. At the end, each of you will have the opportunity to close. You'll be given up to 3 minutes to provide a closing statement. Ms. Gibson, you'll go first. Mr. Myers, you'll have the last word. All right, again, remember to remind me of the order that we've already agreed to, so I may well forget. Questions? Good. All right. The first question is for Mr. Myers. Oh, excuse me. Opening statement. It's literally right here. So, Ms. Gibson, you start. So let everybody forget the humor.
Thank you so much for having me here this evening. It's an honor and a privilege. Full disclaimer, I have never participated in a debate before. Matt, good for you. And okay, I've never run for city council either. So first. Thank you to the mayor and council, the PDC, my fellow residents and neighbors in Norcross, and my fellow business owners and Norcross city staff, and all those who work tirelessly to make Norcross great. Thank you so much for doing the hard work. Good evening, I'm Sophie Gibson, and I'm the right choice for City Council, for Norcross City Council. I'm running for Norcross City Council because I genuinely believe I can make a difference in the community I love and the community I call home. I am the founder and CEO of Vivo 360, a digital and creative agency I founded 20 plus years ago with offices in Chamblee in Washington, D.C. I have a proven track record of being an entrepreneur and business leader and neighborhood advocate, and well over 30 plus years experience solving problems for small, medium, and large-sized businesses, including government, nonprofit, healthcare, education, and so many others. I more than believe in historic preservation. I've lived it for years, working with organizations like HDBC, founded in 1980 by Coretta Scott King herself, providing leadership for their board with the primary intent to create convening spaces that speak to the wants and desires of the community, revitalizing while maintaining the community's character and celebrating its history. Projects like Old Fourth Ward has acted as a catalyst for sustained economic success. It has been such a pleasure speaking with so many of you. Some of you I see here this evening, and thank you for being here, my Norcross neighbors. As I walk door to door, one theme is clear. It doesn't matter the square footage of our neighbor's home or the jobs we do. Everyone wants to be seen. Everyone wants to be heard. Everyone wants to know if what matters to them also matters to you, period. It is our duty as city council servants to make sure we are all heard, all seen, and all understood. And I know I can be that city council servant to you and for you. Most don't know this about me, but I am from a multicultural family. I was a widow at 23, pregnant, and had a 1-year-old. They're here, they're no longer that young. That husband was of Indian descent, whose grandfather made the decision to change his name from Brij Mahan to Thompson, coming from India. My second husband, who I'm now divorced from, is Chinese. My mother's father is from Beirut, Lebanon, and her mother's family is Irish, Scottish, and Black. Can you imagine what Christmas with my family is like? Yes, it's beautiful. There is no end in sight of great food, believe me. I have always done community service as early as I can remember, and since moving to Norcross, I have thrown myself into community service, including being board vice president of my HOA at 7. Hi, Pat. In addition, I serve as a Norcross Development Authority board member with Matt, and am also a Norcross ARPA Advisory Committee member. Hi, Elaine. Oh, Elaine. I started my first business at age 21 while still in college, and today serve on a couple boards, including Pet Partners, a leader in improving the human health and wellness through the human-animal bond. I'm going to jump along. I'm also an advocate for women and building awareness about sexual and verbal and emotional abuse. Gwinnett County is where I first laid Georgia roots almost 30 years ago. Thank you. Didn't get to finish, but thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gibson.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming tonight. I really appreciate your engagement in our community. And for you guys to hear a little bit more about Sophie and my background and what we will bring to the city and our vision. I'm Matt Myers. I'm currently sitting on your city council on my first term as a council member. I'm not a career politician, but rather an engineer and a lifetime problem solver. A citizen of Norcross for more than 10 years. A parent of 2 young boys, 5 and 1, Jacob and Mason. A lot of you know him. And I'm anchored by my beautiful bride of 11 years, Raven, who I want to especially thank for giving me the much needed opportunities, space sometimes, and the energy and support to serve our city. 13 years ago, when I stumbled upon Norcross, trying to avoid a traffic jam on 85, in my daily commute between where I used to live in Marietta and where I worked in Duluth, I found Norcross by accident. It was a special place. I knew as soon as I drove through the town. And less than a year later, Raven and I bought our first home in Norcross, and a year later we were married at Flint Hill, right downtown Norcross. Right here, I'm sorry, it didn't take long for us to start bragging to everyone, probably anyone who would listen, about how great Norcross was. I think many of you had that same journey or a similar journey when you get to Norcross. So after accepting but later that time, I accepted a promotion. We moved to Houston. Not happy about it, but we did it because it was a great opportunity for our family. And so shortly after, we had now a family of 3, and we decided to return back to Norcross. We thought that was extremely important, that this community was something that we were married here. We wanted to raise our family here. We wanted to be here for a long time. And so we chose to come back to this community for a second time. Soon after, I was on the HOA board for our community and also served on our planning and zoning board. While serving on our planning and zoning board, I engaged with citizens just like you in development of our 2040 comprehensive plan and work with city staff in the adoption of our unified development ordinance. Now, At that time, I was the chair of the Planning and Zoning Board. Since being elected, despite having started my term shortly thereafter, the pandemic, we're all still kind of working through the day as we see many masks out in the audience. We've worked on numerous initiatives, including rechartering the Norcross Development Authority, which Sophie sits on with me today, as one of my prime pieces of legislation. I work with, and I believe this Norcross Development Authority is vital to spur our development throughout the entirety of the city. We passed 2 consecutive budgets with no tax increases as a council. We reformed the downtown dining district, beer, alcohol, and food truck ordinances to improve quality of life in our downtown. And I'm working with Norcross Power on improving the resiliency of our power delivery. I'm extremely passionate about Norcross because it's most important to me that our community continue to be a vibrant place for families like mine and yours to continue to live, work, play, and invest, while maintaining the heart and character of what makes Norcross a special place we've all come to call home. I'm running for re-election because I believe I am the most qualified candidate to aid Norcross through economic growth and development, collaborate and strengthen our partnerships throughout the region, build community engagement, and I believe I have the right leadership, the willingness to take bold steps towards setting common sense policies and making data-driven decisions, and valuing the voice of our local businesses and residents. Thank you.
Appreciate that. We're going to start the questions now. Mr. Byers, you get the first question.
Sure.
What are the top 3 things about city government that you would work to change if you were elected?
So I'd say that the top 3 things.
And just a reminder, you have 2 minutes, and Ms. Gibson, you'll have a minute.
Sure. The top 3 things. I think the biggest thing I've seen is our relationships with our regional partners. I'd like to improve upon our relationship with our regional partners. That would be our county commissioners, our state legislators, both House and Senate, as well as our state representatives in Congress. I think it's imperative that Norcross have a seat at the table. Another thing I think is important to our community is our ability to listen. Town halls, such as ones we did called Cookout with Council, I think are great opportunities for community to engage. Unfortunately, through COVID, we didn't have an opportunity to do as many of those as we would like to have done. And the last thing I would like to do for make sure our city has is an engaged council that is engaging all of Norcross and all parts of Norcross. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Gibson, you have a minute to respond.
Thank you. So one of the things I want to make sure we work on is enhancing public safety. And I know that I'm not quite sure what the budget is for that moving forward for 2022, although I did look at the budget. But one of the things I want to do is training, especially for police officers as it pertains to victims of crimes. They're trained to go, me personally and my daughter went in, there was an incident, went in and we felt almost like the criminals. Another thing is affordable housing. I want to make sure that the teachers and police officers that live in our city have access to housing that they actually are able to live here. And of course, the preservation is very, very important to me as well. So I would love to enhance what is already here in the downtown area.
Great, thank you. All right. So question number 2 will go to Ms. Gibson. Just like last time, you'll have 2 minutes to answer the question. Mr. Myers will have a minute to respond. All right. Extended stay hotels account for a plurality of crime in our city. What are your plans for extended stays?
Well, families don't intentionally, they don't want to be in extended stays. If they had a choice, they would. And most people don't know, extended stays are very, very expensive. They cost more than sometimes our mortgages and rent. So it's by choice. Sometimes it's bad credit that they have while they're there. These families don't want to be there. It's not a choice. And so it's up to us, our community, to help them segue from an extended stay to a permanent component. And I believe we can work with some of our Norcross community partners, nonprofits, in order to help them transition from that to home just like ours.
All right, thank you, Mr. Myers.
Yes, one thing that's important for our residents to know that 5 of our city's 14 extended stays, hotels, motels account for almost 50% of our crime. What I'm proud to say today is that even though it accounts for 50% of our crime has been reduced on average for the last 6 years, continuously 6% every year. So we have a phenomenal public safety department. And in addition to that, specifically for the extended stays, we have a task force to address some of the crime in those particular areas. Beyond the crime, there are families that live there as well. And the city council has really stood up and supported the Live Norcross community that helps from hotel to homes that some of even our community members in our community are also a part of.
Thank you, sir. All right. The next question, as you might have guessed, I got a couple of duplicates, but this was far more than a duplicate. I got many folks ask the same question. So clearly it rings a bell with everybody in the community. So as a consequence, I'm going to change the timing rules a little bit. Each of you guys will get 2 minutes to respond to this question. And I guess, Mr. Meyer, you'll go first. What do you think about the idea, sorry Bob, is that cool?
It's all good.
All right. What do you think about the idea that Norcross annexed land between Jimmy Carter and the DeKalb line? Mr. Myers, you're up first.
Yeah, first off and foremost, I have and always will believe in thoughtful and meaningful annexations throughout our community. I believe we have a policy on this from council, and it should be, whatever policies we set from council should be data-driven. As to not burden our current city and residents and resources and commitments. I believe that as we take a path forward on new annexations, we should have a return on investment. That return on investment doesn't have to just be a dollar amount. It's services, it's quality of life, but we ought to have a plan, and we ought to have serious dialogue and debate in our community about whether or not we can service those areas. One of the things that concerned me when this came before me as a council member was the ability for our public safety to be able to give the exact same service that Norcross residents are used to in this extended area of annexation. Roughly 20 police officers were needed in this particular area, and we were in COVID, coming out of COVID, and we're struggling to hire officers. And so I wanted to take a hard look at whether or not we could have the number of officers in that area to ensure public safety to the Norcross standard, as well as whether or not we had the right staff in place to support these areas. We just passed the Beaufort Highway Master Plan, and that area was already annexed many years ago, and we just passed that plan. I wanted to ensure that before we took that step, we started executing on what we had before us.
Thank you, Ms. Gibson.
Do you mind repeating the question?
Sure. What do you think about the idea that Norcross annexed land between Jimmy Carter, roughly, and the DeKalb line?
So, what I know are the facts, and my understanding at this time is that the original annexation plans passed the state legislature, but there was a technical glitch. This would have nearly doubled the size of Norcross by adding 3 square miles and 6,000 residents and hundreds of businesses. So major impact to our city. I understand, of course, it was supported by the local legislation. So I'm looking at it like a business. And there is more research that I would need to do because this is new to me, but just from my understanding of the facts and my experience of business, additional clients, right, and additional businesses, and doesn't necessarily mean an increased revenue. It could mean a drain on resources, and I would have to increase operational costs to manage the intake. However, sometimes with business, you have to take risk. And just doing the numbers, if you add 6,000 residents, just doing the tax intake, I can't see that from an operational standpoint, if you are able to increase taxes, and of course the businesses, hundreds of businesses that will come in, you'll also have the opportunity to employ more resources or pull up, recruit more resources that could take the intake of, the 6,000 added and the the business is. So I'm telling you the facts. I need to know more and understand more research. There are two sides to the story, but just looking at it from a business standpoint, I would say it does make some sense, but I would still need to know more.
All right, Ms. Gibson, you'll be up first to answer this question. The city of Norcross has a council city manager form of government. How do you interpret the responsibilities of a council member within that context? You'll have 2 minutes to answer that question.
Okay, so my understanding, the city manager and his staff, or her staff, at this point I believe it's his staff, implements all the resources of the city. They make sure the buck stops with them. However, as a city council person, I wouldn't be running if we didn't influence and be able to introduce specific policies that affect the city manager and the staff so that they can implement what the residents want. So I feel that my job would be to the liaison with residents like yourself and all the stakeholders of Norcross to listen, to hear your voices, and to be able to relay back among council, vote on policies that are in the best interest of you, the residents. And so the staff implements whatever decisions have been made.
All right, thank you. Mr. Myers?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. The city of Norcross has a council city manager form of government. How do you interpret the responsibilities of a council member within that context?
Yes, so a council member, one of the primary objectives, one of the primary things that we do in terms of hiring is to hire that city manager. That city manager manages the staff and as well the police department, the entire staff of the city of Norcross, and that city manager reports directly to the council. So it's imperative that we have a good working relationship with them, and we know the balance between when we've got a question, directing that to our city manager. Of course, we all are on different boards and commissions and committees, and we're working with our citizens and our staff as well. But at the end of the day, they don't report to us. Who reports to us is the city manager. As far as how our meetings work, we will submit those policy work session agenda items to our clerk via the city manager. The city manager will place those on our agenda for a policy work session, and then we have a general meeting. And those are every 2 weeks. So just from a fundamental how we work.
All right. Just a reminder, if everybody could again check your cell phones, make sure they don't go off and interrupt the candidates, given that last time. Okay, Mr. Myers, you are up next. Why can't Norcross have a robust evening scene outside of the summer concert series? For example, Duluth or Roswell. You have 2 minutes.
All right. So as far the way I see it, obviously I've been on council the majority of that time. I've been on COVID, so we've been very intentional about what we could do in our city. I think we, as a council, as our Downtown Development Authority and soon to be our Norcross Development Authority, are really looking at how to activate our community. One of the things that we were able to do was, if it's dark enough, you'll maybe see from here the lights strung over Skin Alley. We think that adds a sense of place to our community, helps enhance businesses down in the downtown area, and is a great opportunity for people to enjoy that at night, well lit and safe. Additionally to that, we opened up the summer concerts, and we reopened those up. And we've been talking and discussing about what we want to do for the winter. So you'll see the First Friday concerts are now in the park, and we're in October, and those will continue. They used to be held with inside. So we want to continue to do things like that. I think respecting all the demographics in our community that we have, and making sure we have events scheduled and in place for all the diversity in our community, I think is going to be important. And diversity is not just our races and our cultures, but it's also our ages as well. We have a lot of young millennials in our family, a lot of people that are retiring in place here in our community. I think having a mix of those, including children's events, will help activate our community.
All right. Ms. Gibson? Sure. Why can't Norcross have a robust evening scene outside of the summer concert series? For example, Duluth or Roswell?
Okay, so I'm not quite sure why. However, I would love to be on council and help to change that. As I said, I come from a very multicultural family, and from a music standpoint, I know I enjoy the summer series, but my daughter who is here would never be caught out there with me. So it would be good to be inclusive of all ages. And I like the idea of Buford Highway, bringing in those cultures. I would love to see a festival in place that would be pulling, I believe we have over 100 languages that people speak in their homes in all of Norcross. It would be good to be inclusive and have some of those, a great festival. The time is making me nervous, but have a great festival that includes all the cultures that represent Norcross. So I'd love to see that happen.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Gibson, you're up. What type of development do you believe Norcross has the greatest need for, and what can you as a city council member do to help initiate that?
Wow, that's a powerful question. Well, I don't believe there's any one type of development. We have seen so many cities have been enriched. I lived in Alpharetta for some time, and Avalon has really made a big difference there. So I believe, especially being on the Norcross Development Authority Board, we are hoping to bring a lot of different types of developments. One of those that I would love to, and I know Kathleen would possibly second this, is mixed community, mixed income, where we have a maybe 20-80 split, so that, as I said, police officers and teachers and folks that really want to live in Norcross, that work here, can actually live here and be great. Another component is, I'm all about business. I would love to see an entrepreneurial center. There's so many youth and businesses that, could merge and really have some great innovative ideas. I'd love to see a senior citizen complex for people 55 and older, and I'm closely approaching that. But I would love to see where the older community can come in and really engage and have great discussions like we're having now on a continuous basis. So there's so many mixed developments I'd love to see happen here, and it's not just one. And I think we're prime and ripe, especially with the master plan that's Buford master plan that's in place. I think we're prime and ripe to attract great businesses that can help us do just that.
All right. Mr. Myers, what are your what type of development do you believe Norcross has the greatest need for, and what can you as a city council member do to help initiate that?
Yeah, so I'll answer the first part of that question in terms of what the city council member can do to influence development in our community. One of the things we do best is working with our Downtown Development Authority and help activating development throughout our community, both business and residential. Another way we can, as a council, influence what goes on in terms of development is working with now, what I was fortunate enough to recharter was our Norcross Development Authority that has end-to-end, the entirety of the city, an ability to develop in our community. Beyond that, what I think the greatest need is I think we need a business park with mixed development where we're adding businesses. I think we have an opportunity for flats or condos, maybe age-specific 55 plus. And I think additionally, our Buford Highway Master Plan has a lot of areas where density is to be. And last but not least, affordable housing is something we need. We also need workforce housing. If we have another question here, I'll explain the difference between workforce housing and affordable housing, but I think we need both.
All right. Mr. Myers, you're up. Please tell us how your experience as a resident in Norcross qualifies you to be a member of City Council.
Yes, so I gave a brief when I first opened up about me being here 10 plus years in the Norcross community. I've also served as a volunteer in our community, various events that we have downtown, car shows, Art Splash. I've also served on the Planning and Zoning Board in the city of Norcross for 2 years as well as the chair of the Planning and Zoning Board before I ran on council. Being also on an HOA, my HOA president for my neighborhood in Norcross, and I've lived here twice in 2 different parts of the city, downtown, the historic downtown area, and the west of west of downtown area, which we don't talk about much, which is by the high school. So I think those are some qualifying factors that make me a strong candidate for being on council, and what I think is important, that you need to have that background while you're on council. Beyond that, I have a young family that wants to grow through this council. It wants me to grow as I am on council, and I think growing my family through our community is a part of enriching myself and enriching my family into our community. And I think that's greatly important, to understand your community and be a voice, to listen to their voices and hear them. Whether you're at Thrasher Park, or we're at one of our local breweries, or we're just walking down the street, being available, I think, is also extremely important. And I've been available as a volunteer and an advocate of our community since I've been here.
Thank you. Ms. Gibson, please tell us how your experience as a resident of Norcross qualifies you to be a member of the City Council.
Well, Norcross is a sense of place, and I got that from Zach, my son's husband, who they both live here in Norcross, Nash and Zach, and told me that this is the only place to be. And I trust them with my life, obviously. So well, they took me dragging and screaming, but as I got here, I fell in love. I fell totally in love, and looked around and settled at 7 Norcross. And I am a vice president on the HOA there, serving with Pat, who has been very helpful in teaching me a lot that I don't know, and I think I added a value with him as well to the community. Also, I'm on the communications committee board, so if talking about events, 7 is known for great events, and so I think I learned a lot in terms of pulling, so many different ages together there, and dealing with so many different things, from landscaping to roofs and insurance. I think just being a resident here has really helped, in addition to all the cities that I get paid to help them with their strategies. I think that also helped me as an HOA vice president, and then bringing that here into the community.
Thank you. Okay, the next question is for Ms. Gibson. What is your plan to address future budgets for police services, since it now has over a $2 million windfall that flows into the city due to school camera fines?
Well, let me tell you, I wasn't happy when my daughter kept bringing home some tickets. So I can understand why the budget is really good. So one of the things I want to make sure that I do is I talk about community policing, and I feel it's really important to have not just officers that understand how to deal with criminals, but officers that really understand how to deal with the community at large. Going out into the community, and because most times, any of us here, we're going to be the victim, right? And just being able to be empathetic and sensitive to certain issues. So I'd love to use some of the budget there in training, if possible. And that's one of the things I really want to do. So a lot of that could really go there.
All right. Mr. Myers, what is your plan to address future budgets for police services, since it now has over a $2 million windfall that flows into the city due to school camera fines?
Okay, so I guess that's a mixed question, 2 questions in one. One is the budget of public safety and my commitment to public safety in our community. The other question is about really the red speed cameras we have in our community. I'll focus that question on the public safety in our community. I've been very dedicated to our public safety department. Prior to my being on council, we had a budget where we approved new cars that our police officers desperately needed for at least 1 or 2 budget cycles. And so we were able to pass a budget with 12 new police officer vehicles. In addition to that $3 million, it's actually $3 million that our city has taken in from red speed cameras, 6% of which come from Norcross residents. So that's 97% out external. We've spent $250,000 in improving safety cameras through our parks, where we've had some crime elements, as well as upgrading software and hardware in our community. I think in addition to that, we need to continue to push forward to support our police department as one of the safest cities while the rest of Atlanta is continuing to increase in crime.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Myers, can you give a vision for what filming in Norcross looks like, along with monetary information and/or positive attributes to continue to allow it to interrupt normal city access? What is Norcross doing with the income it is receiving from allowing filming here?
Okay, so I think a lot of the income and revenue for filming in the city of Norcross is actually going to those residents that are opening their homes, specific to these movies that they have. We obviously will get permitting fees and fines if they break any rules, but
Speeding camera fines.
speeding camera fines. From bringing the 97% of speeding camera fines external, they're probably all in the industry. But I think it's one of our second or third highest, best industries in the city of Norcross, and I think we will continue to grow that in our community. I look forward to working with some of our local studios. We have a lot of studios nearby, one in unincorporated Norcross, Eagle Rock, Third Rail Studios down in Doraville. I think we've got to continue to bring that in and embrace that. I think it's just going to be a part of what Atlanta is. To be honest with you, we're at a special place in Atlanta. We've got charm and character. We've got industry, and we're not far from the airport. I think those are strategic values that the movie industry has for Norcross, and I think we just got to continue to grow that.
All right. Ms. Gibson, can you give a vision for what filming in Norcross looks like, along with monetary information and/or positive attributes to continue allowing it to interrupt normal city access? What is Norcross doing with the income it is receiving from allowing filming here?
Who doesn't love the movies? I guess residents have to be patient because, our downtown restaurants and wherever they're filming in Norcross actually benefit. I don't think it's a direct benefit necessarily, a big range for the city, but for our residents it sure is, and for our businesses it is. They're staying in hotels, and of course, the Crown Royal just opened. They're eating at our restaurants. So I've heard some residents say it causes a lot of traffic. People are rubbernecking trying to see which star is there. But the point is, I think it really adds major value to our neighborhood, and it's getting the secret out about who we are. So I'd love to see it remain.
All right. The next question, really kind of a double question. These are softball. This is easy stuff. Nobody complains about taxes and crime. So in this question, which will go first to Ms. Gibson, both the candidates will have 2 minutes to address these questions. How can we reduce taxes in Norcross? What is being done about crime in our town? Easy stuff, right? Easy stuff. 2 minutes, Ms. Gibson.
Let me start with crime. So all Norcross residents obviously deserve to feel safe in their homes and neighborhoods. So Norcross has a great police department. I will visit the police department and hear directly from police officers. As our chief says, Chief Grogan, he likes to call them peace officers. How do you reduce crime? I think it's having peace officers going out into the community and really influencing community influencers and encouraging the department to work directly with those influencers, which I'm sure they already do, but just stepping it up a bit. And if our budget allows it, training to specifically work with victims, as I had said before. Now, the last report I received from SafeWise rated Norcross number 39 out of 549 municipalities in Georgia, and that's for 2020. And wait time for police responses is less than 3 minutes, and inside of school within 1 minute. So, the bottom line is, and of course I will support annual reviews, ensuring that we have the infrastructure and technology and personnel to really keep us safe and crime at the lowest. And the other part of the question?
Taxes.
taxes. Oh, the best part. So, you know, the city council, I guess, passed the millage that all of us are part of, and everybody wants to have taxes reduced. As a business person, my God, I pay way lots in taxes. And my job, I feel right now, I don't know exactly what we could do to make that happen, besides getting more cameras and getting more speeding tickets out so that we can maybe lower, or get more revenue in and lower taxes. I think I need to know more, but right now I think it's where it should be.
All right, Mr. Myers, what can we do to reduce taxes in Norcross? What is being done about crime in our town?
Yeah, I think the easy question is crime. We're not immune from crime at all, so what we've done has been really good. We need to continue to do that. We need to add technology and infrastructure to our police departments, public safety, to continue to do that. As criminals get smarter and faster and wiser, and we've got to grow with them, and we've got to meet them where they are. And I think we've got a good city manager and a good police chief in place to do that. So beyond the taxes, really quickly, prior to me being on council, the city increased taxes 20%, millage rate increase. In the 2 years that I've been on council, we've kept that to 0, but while increasing their services to the community. So increasing your services, keeping your taxes flat, that's the main objective for me as a taxpayer myself. But also, the other things that impact the community beyond just taxes is our Norcross power rates. Many of our residents have Norcross power. That is one of the highest power rates in the region. And so what I can do as a council member is dig deep into that as well and go understand why our rates are where they are and how do we fix that if we can. I think that's important for the total cost of homes. It unfairly burdens lower income individuals because they pay a lower percentage of tax, but they pay the same amount of power rate. And so it really impacts the lower income individuals in our family. So addressing that will also be a total cost savings to those individuals in our community.
Thank you both. Mr. Myers, you're up. Our new library is the heart of our community. How do you see the mayor and council helping to better it?
Yeah, so I believe the library and all public facilities in our community, it's incumbent upon the mayor and the council to be completely supportive 100%. These are institutions in our community that our children use, our adults use, new residents coming to our country use for second language training. In many cases, especially during COVID, we found out the library might have been the only place they had internet access. So now that we've got our state-of-the-art library almost here, I believe October 26th is still the day or soon. I think it's an opportunity for us to continue as mayor and council to embrace these organizations, embrace these places such as the library. For one, I know my son is there all the time at the old library because he goes to school and we go there. And I look forward to being able to go to the new library with him and kind of growing up through what the library system has. I think it's a phenomenal opportunity for him to grow up in the shadows of a world-class library.
Thank you. Ms. Gibson, our new library is the heart of our community. How do you see the mayor and council helping to better it?
Well, encouraging our residents to participate in there. You can be a member of the library and don't have to physically go there anymore. That app, instead of paying Audible, I've been paying Audible too much. The library offers a great app that you physically don't even have to go in there anymore. But I drove by, I can't wait to look in. It's absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. And I would love for us to have classes in there, varying classes based on the needs of the community. It's such a state of the art, I wouldn't want to put it to waste. So I think we should use it up the way that the community really wants to engage. So I think it's up to council to really find out, are there classes you want to make sure are there? What opportunities do you want this library to be able to perform in the community and just do that?
Thank you. All right, Ms. Gibson. What city property development will you drive to complete, in all caps, complete being the focus, in the next 3 to 5 years? And why do you think it's important? Ms. Gibson, you're up.
Okay, so the Buford corridor, the Beaufort Master Plan is done. I'm excited. It's a part of the city that I would love to see. They're saying 20 years or something like that. I would love to speed that up. I don't know about 3 years, but I know you can do some major things in 3 years if given the right incentives. So along Beaufort Park Highway, that corridor, that's part of the city that has been underserved for many years. And if you're not growing as a city, you're pretty much dying. And I truly believe it's possible to make sure that that side of town reflects the makeup of the community, especially the development and business opportunities that this corridor could provide. So that Norcross becomes truly economically dynamic and a competitive city. I think that section of town would really add value to us if we can really, transform some of the existing businesses there and help them with incentives and bring in the right developers to make it happen and make that side of town really come to life. And building, it will help us with our revenue base and building a true sense of community and a sense of place.
Thank you, Ms. Gibson. Mr. Myers, what city property development will you drive to complete? Again, the emphasis on complete. In the next 3 to 5 years, and why do you think it's important?
Okay, there's a few I can think off the top of my head. I'll go quickly. We have a West Beach Tree property by the water tower near Hunter Street that I think the request for bid ends November 9th this year, so hopefully that will be driven to completion in the next 3 to 4 years. I think the biggest thing we have an opportunity to do is our public safety building and potentially adding our new courtroom or courthouse to our public safety building. The original plan for that public safety building was to use it at the old library when we open our new library. So using the opportunities, the best opportunities we have to increase our public safety visibility on Beaufort Highway and complete that building, I think is would be my huge target for the next 3 to 4 years.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Myers, your turn. What is your plan to manage the rush hour traffic through downtown Norcross?
Wave a magic wand. Sorry. Yes, traffic. I think it's imperative that we support transit in our community. Having partners with our local Gwinnett County Transit Authority and their committee. I believe we have a city council member, Dr. Arlene Beckles, that sits on that as well. And working with our county commissioner, Big Koo, who leads that. I think that'll be important to helping address traffic in our area. Beyond that, we're conducting a street study, so to speak, on speed limits in our community. So once the data comes back, being able to intelligently look at where we need to lower speed limits, potentially raise speed limits, add stop signs, etc., lights potentially, I think are important. And then beyond that, continue to work with Georgia DOT, Gwinnett DOT, as their projects come online, that we can integrate into those. So as we develop, they understand what traffic patterns we need in our community. I think is another way we can do it. And I think last but not least, our school board, as they have different traffic patterns, especially during school hours, us working with developers and understanding what those are and not putting a school right in the same spot that we need everyone to drive through really quickly, which would inevitably slow the speed down and enhance our red speed cameras. I think are all just intelligent ways to build upon our community, what's happening already in our community and our regional partners, and really bring that home to Norcross and have a seat at the table when it comes to how traffic impacts the city of Norcross and our residents.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. Ms. Gibson, what is your plan to manage rush hour traffic through downtown Norcross?
Besides going up there and directing traffic myself.
I'm not sure you should do that, that's crazy.
Well, transportation is a big, it's not only Norcross, obviously. No matter where you go in Atlanta, Metro Atlanta, it's a problem. So it's not just unique to Norcross. And it has a lot to do with being very strategic when you're planning a city. And so walkable cities today are just that, and walkable cities those that are walkable today actually were based on way before cars really became the main mode of transportation. And so I really think we need to assess that and look at what it really takes. It's about working with the GDOT. It's about working with developers to make sure that when you're planning developments, you're doing it in such a way where you're understanding grids and where people really want to walk, where people really need to drive and not necessarily, I'd love to move the traffic away from this area. So we really have to be strategic in how we're planning to build the city out.
Thank you. It's 7:51. This will be the last question, and then we'll go to closing. So let me forget that. Ms. Gibson, you're up. We live on Sunset Hills Drive, and during the month of September, we experienced 3 longer power outages within days. The most recent one lasted from 4:30 in the afternoon until 11 p.m. The one only 2 days prior was from 1 to 5, especially during times when people work and learn from home internet connectivity and power are essential. What is each candidate's stance on the situation? How are you planning to address the problem? What timelines and what plan of action do you propose?
I want to say I feel your pain because it has, I know in 7 where I live, sometimes it's out for me and not for others, and it has affected me personally when I'm in the middle of filming. It was for a television interview related to work in the middle of filming, and you could see it was getting darker and darker. I was using my phone to connect, and then eventually I had no light, and it just saw my eyes. It was very scary. So I understand it's very disruptive, especially today when you're working from home because of COVID-19. So I am not in council yet. That's one thing that's a pet peeve of mine. So I'd love to know exactly what it would take to make sure that we are steady. I know sometimes I've heard it's the trees. We have beautiful trees, and sometimes it goes down and it takes a while to get back up. So I really would need to study that more, really understand it. But I feel your pain because it's my pain too. So I really feel I need to understand more. And hopefully when I get on council, I'll be able to really tackle that situation.
Thank you. Mr. Myers, we live on Sunset Hills Drive, and during the month of September, we experienced 3 longer power outages within days. The most recent one lasted from 4:30 in the afternoon until 11 p.m. The one only 2 days prior from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Especially during times when people are working and learning from home, home internet connectivity and power are essential. What is your stance on the situation? How do you plan upon addressing the problem? What timelines and what plan of action do you propose?
I'll try to answer that in a minute. First, I really feel the Sunset Drive community because we're on the same circuit. So when your power goes out, my power goes out, and I don't live anywhere close to you, and I don't have a tree canopy near my house. So resiliency of power is something that I know a lot about. Most of my career, I've been an engineer for General Electric, working on just things like this in terms of power. So I have a deep understanding of our power grid and the complexities around it. One thing is certain, storms are going to get more frequent, they're going to get more intense, and we have a 151-year-old and counting tree canopy. Trees are going to fall. So in May of this year, I submitted a plan for staff to work on about undergrounding the power lines in our community. I think it's going to be one of the ways we as a community build resiliency of power in our community. So undergrounding those power lines in the most affected areas in our community is one of the plans that I've already set in motion, and that the next 4 years, if we're elected, I'll continue to push forward to get done. The timeline will be long. We've got a lot of streets and we've got a lot of roads, but we'll continue to push and endeavor through. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Myers. Okay, so that's 14 questions. Can't ask them all. I do have a number of more questions. If there's just no time, y'all feel free to talk to the candidates afterwards. We're going to finish up with closings. And based on the coin flip, Ms. Gibson, you go first. You have 3 minutes. Mr. Myers, you get the last word. You will have 3 minutes. Ms. Gibson, you're up. Right. He's going to get right.
Okay,
So you're going to go first now, and he's going to get the last word. You got the first word, he gets the last word.
Okay, all right, awesome. Thank you for being here with us this evening. I am sure you have so much more you could have been doing, but you chose to be here with us. Thank you. As a single mother with an MBA from Georgia State University, raising 3 children, I was able to instill my parents' principles of hard work and education on my 3 children. My daughter Sky is currently a student at Georgia State University. My oldest son Egan lives in Peachtree Corners and has a bachelor's degree from the Central Queensland University in Australia. His girlfriend Brianna is here, and my youngest son Nash, who also lives in Norcross with his husband Zach, also here, has a bachelor's degree from Emerson College in Boston, Massachusetts. Now more than ever, Norcross needs a strong voice for all of Norcross, and I want to emphasize the 6 pillars that I found as common threads between most Norcross residents, and I know I can bring much value and attention to. The first one is enhancing public safety. All Norcross residents deserve to feel safe in their homes and neighborhoods. Norcross has a great police department. I will support an annual review ensuring that we have the infrastructure and personnel needed to keep us all safe and crime at its lowest. The second is maintaining our historic character. This is one of the reasons I moved to Norcross. Sustainability of our historic structures and parks is important. Third, small business and economic development. This means building the Norcross economy of the future, from physical and technological infrastructure to attracting businesses and jobs, so that residents of Norcross can live, work, thrive, and live their best lives possible. Diversity and inclusion. As a business owner, diversity means diversity of thought that goes beyond being skin deep. What makes Norcross exceptional are the cultures that hold together one of the most diverse cities in America. Neighborhood advocate, and I'm a neighborhood advocate in community. I believe in community engagement. As a communications leader, I believe in ongoing and continued community engagements at all levels, and I plan to physically go out into the community on Wednesdays, different parts of Norcross if elected, and listen. The sixth is enhancing the quality of life for all of Norcross. As an immigrant, I know how it is to raise your family on a dream and work hard to help change the quality of life for your family and generations to come. And that's why I'm the right choice for Norcross City Council, and I'm thankful for your support and your vote. We are 2 weeks away from making a big difference together for the future of Norcross. In 2 weeks, you can create a new chapter for Norcross. In 2 weeks, you will have chosen a candidate that's experienced and one that can help you fulfill your vision for Norcross so that all Norcross residents are heard, seen, and understood.
Thank you, Ms. Gibson. Mr. Myers.
All right, I'd like to thank the audience first. I really appreciate seeing your smiling faces and your time and dedication. This is what true community engagement is, and I really support what you're doing and why you're here, and I really thank you for being here. You heard a lot tonight, and no doubt my opponent and I have given you a lot to consider. But it is my hope that economic development, a passion, my experience in economic development, a passion for community engagement, my history in our community, and the leadership I've shown through my first term on council have helped you decide that I'm the most qualified candidate for city council. Together with your support, our diversity of ages, ideas, incomes, and cultures will continue to be the strength of our community. So families like ours and mine, businesses like yours, can continue to live, work, play, and someday come back and invest in our community. This is what makes Norcross the place we've all come to love. And I'm humbly asked for your vote this November, because I am all in on Norcross. Are you? Thank you.